everybody, welcome back to the channel. So within today's video, we are going to be talking about the fitness updates regarding Kessie, Christensen, and also Frenkie De Jong. But first, before we talk about those three players, I want to talk about the Inter Milan versus FC Barcelona game one more time, because I do want to remind everybody here on where I do stand when it comes to situations like this. And I want to remind everybody that I do still stand on what I did say yesterday. That video that I did make, it was not based off like my emotions taking over my speaking, right, on what I did say. I still stand by what I do say. I still believe that Uefa did face FC Barcelona. It was not really Inter Milan facing FC Barcelona. It was Uefa versus Barcelona. Uefa were the ones that were going to be deciding who was going to be coming out with the points from that game. Now, many of you guys are going to be saying that I'm complaining about the referee's decisions and that I should not be complaining about the ref and really just focus and talk about Barcelona's overall performance. And so let's talk about that, right? Because I do have some things to say when it comes to statements like this. If there's one thing that we have to know about this game is that Barcelona played very solid versus Inter Milan. The only reason why we did not see that Barcelona that could have won 3-0, 4-0, that spectacular FC Barcelona, that is because we faced a very solid Inter Milan. Let's give the respect towards Inter Milan for containing a very well composed FC Barcelona, right? Let's talk about how well Inter Milan did defensively first, because if we understand that, we'll know why FC Barcelona were struggling to get through that defense. So when it comes to even games like this, when you know that you see a unstoppable object meeting a immovable object, it is the small details that is really going to be mattering and what's going to be dictating who is going to come out at the very top. It is those small details, which is why I do say it is very important for the refs to make the correct calls. Those correct calls are the small details, and especially when it comes to tournaments like this, like the Champions League, the small details, right? If you do not make the correct calls, that is what's going to get you knocked out. The small details gets a team knocked out, and that is what we basically saw with FC Barcelona. We weren't knocked out, but we did get taken 3 points away from us. And this ref, right, that we saw in that game between Inter Milan and FC Barcelona, he had no shame in contradicting himself. Like, he had no shame in taking care of the small details and making sure that the calls were correctly made. He did not really care. That is my biggest problem. Like, if the ref really wanted to care about making the correct calls or not, taking care of the small details within a game, when you know that FC Barcelona and Inter Milan were having a very even game, you also want to make sure that you're looking at VAR when Dumfries encountered the ball with his hand. You should have looked at that video, because the fact that all of us saw that video over and over again, like, why do I feel like this fan base that we do have here in Barca Media, or the people on Twitter, or the people on ESPN, why do I feel like those people, the audience, are making better decisions and can better come out with a better answer off of a situation like this? It was so clear that that was a handball. And so it is very contradicting, because you're showing the world, right? The ref is showing the world that he is okay with saying that what was a handball was Onana deflecting the ball to Ansu Fati's hand, but what was not a handball or considered a handball was a ball going directly to Dumfries' hand without a deflection. It was the ball directly to the hand. That is the part that I do find very contradicting, and what just doesn't make any sense. This contradiction that the ref was showing through this game, it could have easily been handled if he were to just look at the VAR. Like, the fact that the ref who was inside the pitch did not see that handball that Dumfries did make, but the coach of Inter Milan who was outside of the pitch saw that, I just do not understand what the ref was thinking. So that is why I do say it is the small details that really do matter and what could actually kick you out of a specific tournament. This is why I'm very pro when it comes to the Super League. Like, I really do want to see the Super League actually happen and have Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, Manchester City, and all of these other teams create their own tournament and basically not affiliate with themselves with UEFA no more because of calls like this, because of how unprofessional they could be. And I do think that it is very important to have clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid to gain more ownership and have more transparency in football. As long as the Super League ends up being like an open league where new teams can come in every season based off their performances, if we can do that, the Super League should be given the green light. Because what's currently going on with UEFA and seeing how the PSG owner is very close to UEFA, I just do not want to affiliate myself with a organization like this. It just doesn't make any sense. But now let's move on towards the next phase of this video, and now let's talk about Kessie, because it does say here, and it is official, that Frenkie Kessie has a strain in the adductor of his right thigh. The injury is low and his recovery will mark his availability. Javi Miguel has also stated that Kessie is expected to be out for about 7 to 10 days, and that's very unfortunate, right? Because right now we just do not know if this was an injury that he did encounter during training training or in the game against Inter Milan. But the fact that we're going to be seeing Kessie out for 7 to 10 days, the injuries are only compiling against FC Barcelona. Like, can you imagine what could happen after the World Cup is over when it starts in November? Like, what happens and how many people are going to be injured after that tournament is over? Who knows what FC Barcelona is going to be going through? And I do feel like we're going to be feeling his absence. Like, this is a huge loss in my opinion, because he does provide a lot of value on the pitch when it comes to holding the ball and also protecting the ball. But it is what it is. If Kessie is not going to be there, let's say worst case scenario, 10 days, and he's just not here within the squad, that is only going to allow Frenkie seeing way more opportunities. And we are going to be talking about Frenkie De Jong later down this video. But if Frenkie does come back and he does return against Inter Milan, there is a game between today and before we head towards that game against Inter Milan, which will be against Celta. If Frenkie's still not there and Kessie is also still not there, most likely we're probably going to be seeing Pablo Torre also gain some sort of recognition and minutes going up against Celta. One of the reasons, by the way, Pablo Torre has been suffering when it comes to getting minutes in the first team, it's not because he is under delivering, it's mostly because we failed to close games very early, which does not allow Pablo Torre to see the pitch at all. Like, for example, that game between Barcelona and Rayo Vallecano where it ended 0-0, if Barcelona were winning like 3-0, 4-0 before even halftime, we could have probably introduced Pablo Torre. If Barcelona were winning like 3-0, 4-0 against Mallorca, where we won 1-0 in that game recently, we could have easily again introduced Pablo Torre. But right now, Barcelona is just not in the position, nor have they encountered situations to really give Pablo Torre the minutes. But now let's go back and talk about Frenkie De Jong, because when it comes to Frenkie, right, someone that we are very much looking forward to return as soon as possible. Now seeing that Kessie is also going to be out, it does say here, according to Moises Llorens, that Frenkie De Jong has started training with the group starting today. It has also been said that most likely Frenkie De Jong is going to be available for the game against Inter Milan, which is, again, it is great news. But here's the thing, right? So let's assess what we could see in these next 3 to 4 games that we are going to be playing, because look, we lost one player, Kessie, and now we're gaining another, which is Frenkie De Jong. His return is going to give us a boost in quality within the midfield. But the thing is, though, is that I feel like there is going to be a gap where we're not going to be seeing Frenkie nor Kessie within one game, and that could be Celta, which is why I did bring up Pablo Torre. So most likely we're probably going to be seeing Gavi and Pedri starting, with Pablo Torre seeing some minutes alongside with maybe even Sergio Roberto going into that midfield. But to hear, right, in the end that Frenkie could be returning in time for the game against Inter Milan, which is going to be very important, that is the biggest news. Because I remember watching that game between Barcelona and Inter Milan, I felt like we needed a player that can take down about 2 or 3 players in the pitch in order for us to have numerical superiority in certain areas of the pitch and basically outnumber Inter Milan by the time Barcelona entered the phase of the final third. Frenkie De Jong could have easily given us that. And so we could see that at the Camp Nou. Maybe we could see a midfield of Frenkie and Pedri and Busquets starting, or maybe we could see Pedri, Gavi, Busquets starting as usual, with Frenkie being the first priority to be getting the minutes within that game. It would give us a very great weapon. Now moving on towards Christensen, it does say here, according to Relevo, that Christensen practically is ruled out for games like Inter Milan and also Real Madrid. More tests will be done in the coming hours. And so again, like I've said, like this is a huge loss to see Christensen out and now Kessie out. I just feel like when it comes to Frenkie De Jong, his demand to return is bigger than ever, because now seeing that Christensen is going to be out, that basically means that we're only going to be having Eric Garcia and Gerard Piqué, which ultimately makes me believe that we could see maybe Frenkie De Jong playing as a center back. Like, we could actually see that. So against Inter Milan, we're probably going to be seeing most likely Frenkie De Jong and Garcia forming the center back duo, unless Xavi Hernandez says I'm going to be relying on Gerard Piqué, because I know that we still have Piqué, but looking at the past few games, it just doesn't feel like Piqué is part of this project. But again, we could see Frenkie and Garcia. There are many options that we could do and many answers and solutions towards having Christensen, Ronald Araujo, and also Koundé out. And then as for Real Madrid, it is not guaranteed for Koundé to return. I know that we have heard many reports about Koundé returning for the match against Real Madrid. His recovery is going very well. But worst case scenario, if he does not make it, then we're probably going to be seeing Frenkie and Eric Garcia again within that game. But if Koundé does return, if everything does go well, like what these reports have been suggesting, we could see Frenkie being pushed back into the midfield and maybe even start, because that is how we won last time against Real Madrid. Is Frenkie having a great game and always being that third man on the pitch. So that is it, right? There is a lot of what ifs. We do not know what's going to happen. We're just painting scenarios of what could happen if a certain thing does not happen. It sucks that Barcelona have to go through so many injuries, but we have to continue to adapt, and hopefully we continue to have great results in the Champions League and also within La Liga. And that that is going to be wrapping up today's Barcelona daily news. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are new here, welcome to the channel. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next video.